Hi, I'm Marika Timmers, and this is The Ethical Entrepreneur, a speaker series to inspire you to build or adapt the business of your dreams and to make an impact in the world. Now, so far on our journey together, we have spoken with certification experts, with specialists in different industries, innovators, educators, all of them leaders just like you. And that's what we're talking about today, worthy leadership and how you can create impact with it. Marianne Mooney is an executive coach and facilitator who connects leaders with their true worth. In the past 25 years, Marianne has worked in 5 continents with more than 10,000 leaders and teams. Her experience includes building 2 consulting firms, which were market leaders, and working with leading organizations throughout the world. She is president of the board for the USA Sanoa Foundation and a certified forum facilitator for YPO, the world's largest CEO network. Marianne's method to coach leaders to develop faster is outlined in her recently published book, The Worthy Leader, which we'll talk about in more detail in a bit. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you, Marika. Great to be here.
So what is ethical leadership and why is it needed in today's practices?
Well, I guess if we stop and reflect about the opposite to ethical leadership is unethical leadership and what impact that might have on the world. For me, ethical leadership is everything. For me personally, in terms of my quest, my journey to wisdom, trying to lead a good life. It's an essential ingredient for anyone that I'm working with. Otherwise, we're really just skating along the surface, and it represents hope for the world. For me, ethical leadership, it's like the central tent pole. Without it, everything collapses, or at least is not sustainable. Anything positive is not sustainable in the longer term.
Yeah, and I guess we've seen that in the last 12 months with leadership around the world during COVID, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's been the most fascinating case study in leadership that I think I'll ever witness. And, it comes back to, particularly in times of crisis where people turn in times of uncertainty even more to lead us for direction and guidance. It's even more critical that we're leading from the core, from our ballast, from our own personal ethos as leaders.
And how do we do that? Is that something that can be learned? How do you develop those sorts of skills?
It's a great question. Can it be learned? 100%. I always get slightly amused, actually, when people kind of ask me, and it's almost an implicit message, a negative message. Do you really think that people can grow? And, my answer always is absolutely. Yeah. I see it every day. It inspires me to watch and witness people, leaders grow. And, to have my own operating system, my own ethos, my own set of guiding principles and values, my belief system is absolutely necessary. How do we learn it? We obviously learn most from experience, but in terms of accelerating and gaining clarity around how can I be an ethical leader, first of all, it's great to have good role models. The principle of surround myself with good people, look for good role models. Even more specifically, find a mentor, find a coach, and practice reflection every day. It certainly can be learned. What do I mean by ethical leadership? I think is at the starting point, and to really kind of nut that out and to practice it every single day. It's not something that we just put on every now and again. It's intrinsic to who we are as leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. And being really clear about what you believe in, so that shines out of you naturally, right?
That's right. I mean, that's one of my favourite words when it comes to leadership development, and I'm very interested in that concept, you know, the journey to wisdom is clarity. How do we become clearer about who we are, you know, where we've come from, what our story is, what and who has shaped us, what matters to us, what we stand for, and, you know, where we're headed, what kind of life do we want to live, and how we want to impact, as you mentioned in your introduction, as leaders. I mean, clarity and impact. And I want to bring in courage there. Mm-hmm. We can't talk about ethical leadership without, you know, pairing it with courage. It takes courage to be consistently ethical.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that in our audience we have quite a few people that may be at the beginning of their journey, maybe some who are, you know, already in established businesses. I come from a corporate background, and no doubt there's a few of you in the audience that have also come from a corporate background, and I'll be really honest and really vulnerable. Leadership was not something that came naturally to me as I progressed in my career, and I would probably go so far as to say that I was quite terrible at it to begin with. And it's really only, you know, in that work on myself and my own belief systems and the type of organization that I now choose to build, that I've truly started to understand the role of a leader in terms of service. That was not something that I learned from my corporate environment. You know, it's something that I had to work on. So what if somebody in the audience is questioning if they have what it takes? You know, what are a few tactics that can help them overcome any self-limiting beliefs that they may have?
And firstly, I do want to say bravo, Marika, and I want to say something else, which is me too. And I do think it is the struggle, you know, to become an ethical leader, you know, a worthy leader, an effective leader, a leader of significance, is, you know, always about the struggle to become clear about who we are and what we need to focus on. So I think that's actually part of it. I think that we have this kind of magical thinking sometimes that we just become a great leader. And it doesn't work that way. We have to work at it every single day. So that leads me to the topic of tactics. I'm a real believer in what is asked of us every day. You know, to be a leader is a privilege, and it matters enormously for good and for bad. So I need to work on it every day, not just in the content and in many environments, you know, maybe the ones that you've come from yourself, the focus is on striving and driving. And of course, we need to achieve results and outcomes. And it's also really important that we consider who is in the role. And that's what we need to work on every day as well. I think it's actually more important.
Yeah, so, and being able to adapt to the people that you're working with and the varying styles that they may have.
Yes, absolutely. However, one thing that I don't think that we need to adapt, if we think about our own ethos, once we gain clarity around that, like what really matters to us, you know, whether it's a value like justice or fairness or honesty, then I think that has to be consistently held.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, we're adapting to a degree to the context that we're in, but knowing when we need to hold the line in terms of our own ethics and when we need to stand up. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you know if you're doing it right? What upside should you be seeing?
I don't think we wake up one day and think, yes, I'm an ethical leader. And for me, there's no separation between ethical leadership and leadership. It's the same thing. Every leader, I think the world would be a wonderful place if every leader was an ethical leader. So how do I know? How do we know if we're doing it right? I think there's a certain liberation, a lightness, a clarity once again, a contentment, perhaps a sense of fulfillment and even peace that comes from, I may not be perfect, but I'm really doing the work to be clear about my ethos and how to best lead people. And that's all I can ask of myself. And the other way that we know that we're doing it right is to look at the impact that we're having.
Yeah.
Leadership, it's a mirroring back process that, what we get back from people, people look to us for consistency and congruence. So looking at the kind of cultures that we're creating and, the healthiness in terms of our followers and the cultures, and equally as importantly, the results that we're achieving and our teams are achieving.
Yeah. Yeah. So Marianne, as someone with a lot of experience in consulting and coaching, but also, your work with not-for-profits and social enterprises, one question I've been asking a lot of my speakers is this one. If you knew when you were just starting out what you know now, what would you do differently?
Actually, I was just thinking yesterday, I wish I had a chance to relive my life. That's one of the challenges, isn't it? The hard-earned wisdom that we gain. And what guidance would I give myself? Well, what I can tell you is that I'm a middle child of 8. And so I had very busy parents, good people, but, very busy. And there was a lot of expectation to achieve, but no scaffolding, no guidance. It was, that it was about that striving. And the siblings, we were all pretty competitive. So in that sense, it wasn't a healthy culture. So from a very early age, the good side, from that was I learned independence and to find my own way. The downside of that was not asking and bringing in or even attracting the right support. So definitely I would look for mentors. I'm running a mentor program next week, and I've run many, many mentor programs, and I love it because it's what I missed in my own life. Right. So a mentor, a coach, and surround myself with good people, good role models, and learn from them.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, that you don't have to do it all on your own. Even if you are a solopreneur out there, don't lone wolf it. There are so many resources and a lot of support to help guide you through that, and a lot of people who have done it before. I think one of the attributes that I love in the leaders that I respect is their openness and ability to continue to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an essential part of leadership, is learning every day. And I channel my colleagues very regularly, people that I really respect. They're pathfinders, thought leaders. More importantly, they're really good people, really ethical leaders. I channel them. What would they do if I haven't got a chance to ring them in the moment? But I definitely also reach out to them.
Yeah. And I think, the questions I asked around can it be learned, the fact that initially in my career, I just didn't think I was very good at it. I think there is an expectation sometimes that, a few people who are really good leaders, and you think that it's naturally intrinsic. It's great to hear that it's not. It is something that can be learned. I think we're probably out of time, but before I go, I wanted to quickly mention your book, because it is a beautifully creative collection of leadership tips and tricks. And I understand that you've got an offer for our audience today.
Oh, thank you, Marika. I do. And the book is The Worthy Leader, which speaks to two things, how you can really connect yourself to your own worth, your own potential, your self-belief, and how to be of worth. And you're right, it is a beautiful book, because I see evolving humans and leaders as a beautiful art form, and I was really keen on producing an aesthetically pleasing book. So I would love to offer your listeners a half price offer. And if you go on to the website, I think you'll put the link.
I'll put it down here, yep.
YesWorthyLeader.net, and just enter the code Ethical Leader, and you'll receive a 50% discount on the price of the book.
Amazingly generous. Thank you so much, Marianne. And thanks also for sharing your knowledge and your techniques with us today. And for all of you watching, I hope we have given you some motivation to step up into your leadership. It's absolutely what the world needs right now. Take care. We'll see you back here tomorrow.